Growing up and going to school, we learn a lot. From science, history, art, and even music. We are really just beginning to understand the world around us. But at times, we can be tested over things that we weren't taught about in school. But just because those answers aren't simply in the back of a book, doesn't mean give up. Because there is help. This is Youth to Youth, Stories of Help and Hope. These are just a few facts about LGBT youth. It's awfully sad that the quality of life of a young LGBT person is less than that of a straight person. But it doesn't have to be like this. It's a Sunday afternoon. Lunch is being made by Claire and her mom Veronica, while Grandma Leslie, aka Granny, plays a game of solitaire. But first, she has to inform me that there are 150 ways to play solitaire.
150 games in one game.
Because you are crafty.
It's just different games, and they try to get me to go back to the computer, but I don't like the way the computer deal.
Yeah.
You mean
I
fairly
do my own
great?
deal.
Amen.
Okay.
While Granny is playing solitaire, Claire educates her mother on her pescatarian eating habits.
I know these words are hard for you, all these life changes. Basically, I'm a vegetarian, but I have fish every now and then. So that's a pescatarian, so you a pescatarian. Pest.
As a young girl and daughter of a minister, Claire was vibrant, full of energy, and stole the show.
She was fun-loving, loved Barney as a kid, loved to be around other kids. She's in the preschool program, so she loved other kids and things like that.
You could tell she thought she was going to be a model or something. She was always posing somewhere. See here? There she is, and there she is. And
I was hot stuff, Granny.
she was always posing.
As Claire began to hit puberty, she started to struggle with who she was and the fact that she was sexually attracted to girls and not boys.
I felt really disconnected from my family. I was struggling with trying to find out who I was. I was teased a lot in school, freshman year, sophomore year, and then years before that. I didn't like school. Good student, hated school, hated people, hated myself, hated my family. Just bad.
As time went by, Claire's insecurities continued to grow and her life began to take a turn for the worst. Her struggles reached a critical point when she felt the only option was to take her own life.
I got into a point where I just didn't think life was worth living. And my plan was to jump off of my high school. There's a very tall building there, and it has these rings on it that could easily be climbed up. And I thought that if I didn't die, that maybe I would hurt myself just enough to where I could be out of school, away from home, just away from life completely.
But Claire did something that people contemplating suicide often do. She talked about it.
And someone called me from the school and told me that Clarissa said she was going to kill herself. And that was one shock that I couldn't accept.
She had thought she wanted to kill herself, because she didn't really know what it was that she was struggling with at first. And then when she came to the reality of it, I think she thought she would not be accepted. Because, we don't sit around the table and say, well, such and such is gay or such and such. We don't sit around and do that. So she probably didn't. She knew she needed to tell us, but she just didn't know how.
But one day, she decided to let her mother know who she was and came out on the day of her mother's first sermon.
For some reason, I'd held it in, but for some reason, I wanted, in my spirit, it came out of me to just come out that night. And typically that's a scary thing, growing up as a minister's child, finding out you're gay, because you hear all your whole life that you're damned to hell, that God doesn't love you, that you're sinning and you're just a big fat piece of wrong. So I came out at 14 at my mother's first sermon.
After knowing the struggle that her daughter had been through, Claire's mom also began to reflect on her personal views and those of her church when it comes to homosexuality. She even wrote a letter of resignation.
What made me unhappy about it is because it totally went against everything that church had taught me. So how can you tell me on the one hand to love unconditionally, but then you don't, So I wrote a letter of resignation to my church. I went and I told my pastor, I gave it to them, and she was so blown away. But what she said was now that she's realizing, because after I talked with her about it, I said, the book that you selected for us as our course of study, what we're doing here is totally opposite of what we're taught.
With her family behind her, Claire's bubbly and lovable personality was once again in full effect. And one day, a counselor informed her of an event that she should attend that is put on by an organization called Growing American Youth.
She just mentioned to me, so are you going to gay prom? I had no idea that there was a gay prom. I didn't know anything about gay prom. I had even made plans not to go to my prom. And she had mentioned this to me, and I'm like, wow, I haven't, and I want to go. So I went to gay prom at City Museum then, and I had a blast. I felt complete. I felt like I was included. I felt like everything was going on. It just worked. And I felt so comfortable being with myself, being with other girls who like girls and guys who like guys and a little bit of everything. And it was just a wonderful experience for me. And they were passing out flyers for Growing American Youth to come to the Thursday and Tuesday meetings. And I'm like, well, of course I have to see what's going on. I have to go to this.
Growing American Youth provides support and social opportunities to young people 21 and under who may identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning. We service youth in the St. Louis area, and really a large area, because St. Louis we benefit from seeing youth from Illinois and as well into the counties beyond St. Louis.
They were completely non-judgmental, and I had to come back, and now I love group. Or Growing American Youth. It's my group.
Because youth come from all over St. Louis and beyond, they also come with a wide variety of situations. Some with great support from family and friends and school and even religious congregations, and some with just the opposite, to where we are their only support.
In Claire's message to other youth,
you are so beautiful. Everyone is beautiful. Somehow, some way. There's not an ugly person on this world.